Yo, what up gamers? My name is Russ and welcome back to another commentary style video. I'm kind of pumped about this one because today I'm bringing you a Night Fae key. This will be a Mists of Tirna Scithe on plus 22 with the affixes Tyrannical, Inspiring and Quaking. So that is the current affixes at time of uploading. And yeah, I'm super hyped to bring you this one because I am accompanying it with a little Night Fae kind of build spotlight mini guide, similar to the ones that I made about Venthyr. If you remember my Cycle of Hatred and First Blood Venthyr videos, this is a similar one showing you kind of how to play Night Fae, everything to look out for, everything to set it up, and the little combos that you can do. So I'll be demonstrating those throughout the video. And I will be linking that guide at the end of the video and also in the description down below. So as usual, as we run through this key, I will be fast forwarding parts where nothing's really going on. And I'll also be talking about both the bosses, because obviously it's tyrannical, and also the trash important stops that you need to do, stuns, kicks, imprisons, all that kind of stuff. Even though it is inspiring and I can't truly demonstrate all the stops because sometimes the inspiring mobs don't allow me to CC and things, I will at least talk about what you should be doing, where to do them and things like that. So we'll jump straight into the key right now and I'll quickly shout myself out. Feel free to head over to the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/JustRuss, if you'd like to see me playing any keys live, just hanging out with my community. We got a great bunch of people over there. And yeah, just asking me any questions. The stream is probably your best point of contact. And yeah, if you like the video at any point during this video, feel free to hit the like button as well. That really does help me out. Helps the algorithm on YouTube push it out to more people, especially those who might be in need of it. So let's begin the key and I'll talk you through this one. Hopefully my talents and gear and legendaries and things have been popping up on the screen as I've been talking. If I've done a great job editing, then that's what it will have been happening. So as the key counts down, I'm just going to use my Immolation Aura and my Blood Elf ability on 5 seconds on the pull timer. Chuck a cheeky eye beam in with the Fury that I gained, and then follow it with a meta that's just going to give me a free meta for the first pack. Sometimes I do overwrite this one by accident, even when I'm playing Night Fae, because I'm so used to playing Venthyr. So I actually did use I used my main meta on this first pull here. We're going to be going for the Woe on the left and skipping straight to the mobs just before the first boss. So I did talk about in the guide, my little opener is going to be using Khorane proc to basically get a big Fel Rush crit, and then activating Immolation Aura to get a second Fel Rush crit. So it's walking in with Fellblade, using the Hunt almost instantly, Fel Rushing, and then using an Immolation Aura to get a second Fel Rush all inside that Khorane first strike window. And I actually fucked this one up because it's the very first pull of the dungeon, and I forgot that I was playing Night Fae kind of. I didn't get myself in the headspace for it, so I actually did miss out on one of those empowered Fel Rushes here. But in general, you will see me doing this combo quite often throughout the dungeon. And on this pack, yeah, just make sure you focus down the Woe. If you're playing Night Fae, it's really awesome to actually hunt the relics. So that'll stop a lot of missed spawns of the wrong kind of relics. If you have the hunt up as you go into the pack, it's one of the first buttons that you press anyway. So you can always make sure that you hunt the correct relic and then use your empowered Fel Rush, Immolation, or a second Fel Rush. You'll hear me talking about that combo a lot. But yeah, that's awesome because you just want to proc your Khorane and then you can start using the hunt anyway. So you might as well hunt a relic because you're going to get, make sure you get the right mob. Now we are using the Woe Shroud to skip all the way to the garden, I guess you'd call it. Pick up the mushrooms and then we can go in for this 4-pack of mobs. On Fortify, this is going to be a pretty terrible pack for your tank to deal with. These Soul Cleavers do a lot of damage. Just make sure that as a Demon Hunter, you're going to be interrupting the Harvesters as much as you can. They're going to do a Spirit Bolt cast, which does a lot of damage to the tank, and I believe it can target random people as well. So if that one's going on you, or you ever get a double on you, it can, both of them, if they're synced up, can cast the Spirit Bolt on the same person at the same time, and that can be a one-shot on Fortified. So make sure you're holding your stuns and kicks, especially for when they're going on a vulnerable target. And then the other casts that they do where it does like a drain, I can't remember the exact name of it, it's going to drain everything around them and heal them. You can just imprison that cast to cancel it there as well, and then you can keep your actual kick for the Spirit Bolt casts. Now on these Bow Breakers, which are the two kind of like jumpy spiky boy growly boys before the first boss, just make sure you keep moving. Your boss mod, DBM or Bigwig should tell you when they're doing these black brambles on the ground. They're just going to keep doing them every 4 or 5 seconds to be honest. So just keep on top of moving. And a good tip to do here is to actually just focus one down at a time. Focus one down to 50%. You can still cleave the other one. As you can see, I'm putting my burning wounds up on both. But you want to focus one to kind of like desync the thrashes that they do. At 50%, they'll do a big AoE thrash on everybody. Just pop a blur when that happens. You can not only get damage reduction for the damage that it does, but it's actually physical damage too. So you can actually dodge it. With evasion on a rogue, you can dodge all of it, and blur will help you dodge, you know, some of the ticks, as well as damage reduction on the ones that you do take. So just try and desync those guys, so they cast that, you know, AoE at 2 separate times. You can get one down to 50, let it cast, and then you can get the other down to 50, and then you just cleave them down after that. That's the probably best way to optimize damage on them. And now we're going to head straight into the boss. Now you can see that I actually hunted the tree guy, but I hunted through everything else. So I got like a big hunt on everything, a big hunt dot, especially onto that dismantler. And I'm just using my forest just to kind of cleave all 3 here. I'm saving my cash trinket for when the boss actually becomes, you know, vulnerable with the damage increase taken. But I'm actually not stressing too much on, you know, holding a lot of damage. I used the hunt on pull. I'm using my eye beams, of course, on cooldown, making sure I get my death sweeps in. And I'm saving meta. But I actually could have probably meted a little bit earlier than I did in this boss fight, because I still had it up for the vulnerability phase. And it is quite important to get the tree, the big tall Ulfarin guy, down as well. Now, make sure that when he casts the fear, you actually get sent directly backwards from where the boss is. So it's a cool way to kind of control your movement with the fear. He'll just fear you directly away from him. So if there's a lot of blue puddles behind you, it's kind of a cool tip here, is you can make sure you're either behind the blue puddles, so you're not going to run backwards into them, or position yourself in a way that you'll run kind of between the puddles whilst the fear goes off. That is if you don't have a, you know, Shami in your group, who will hopefully be putting down a Tremor Totem. And then during this vulnerability phase as Night Fae, and in general really, when you're using Unbound Chaos, you can, you know, save 1 Unbound Chaos for this phase. So you go in with an Unbound Chaos and an Immolation Aura ready, and then you can do like 2 Unbound Chaoses while he's vulnerable. And I'm using my meta, as I said, I probably could have popped it a little bit earlier there, just making sure I get a lot of death sweeps. Some groups as well, if they can keep that alive, then you can actually like line up the with the vulnerability phase so that you could just be spamming death sweep. And it's going to be doing probably like your top damage as Night Fae when you do play First Blood. And regarding interrupts here on the boss as well, just make sure that you are interrupting. You can interrupt on cooldown pretty much the Spirit Bolt that he casts, but it's really, really useful to actually get the one, you know, every time the tree guy is firing out those blue pools, the boss is going to stop and do a cast. Usually you can keep your interrupt for, or as long as one person is keeping their interrupt for the Spirit Bolt that he's going to be casting while the boss is channeling that puddle stuff, I guess, then you're going to be able to move the boss out and, you know, get him to safety. Otherwise, he's just going to chain cast some people while he's standing in the pools, and it's going to slowly hurt the group. Now, here we didn't quite finish him off in the second vulnerability phase, but he was quite low, 16%. Is probably low enough. It depends. It's a toss-up on your group and your group comp and kind of the damage profile of the people that you're playing with. But here we decided to go with finishing the boss. There is actually a weak aura summon which will tell you the health of each individual mob. And then you just kill the one with the lowest HP, right? But just remember that if you do opt to focus the boss after an intermission phase, you can only actually do full damage to him for, I think it's 30 seconds or so, until he puts up this shield on himself, and then he's going to take a lot less damage. So you actually see that he'll put the shield up and we'll start hitting him for barely any damage. Right as he gets to like 2%, this one, Embrace Darkness, he's now putting a shield up on himself, and I'm hitting him for 300, you know, so every time as well when you hit him here, he's actually going to AoE the group, which means that, you know, likelihood of people dying is going to get higher and higher and higher. You see the Warlock actually goes down here, and we're just trying to like battle through that shield because it's still more efficient than actually killing the tree guy once more. But the safe way to do it is always to kill the tree every single intermission. As you get higher and higher keys, you'll need to do that more and more times. Usually you know, 2 to 3 times in a plus 20, maybe 25 and stuff. In a 25 Tyrannical, you might need to kill the tree 3 times. And that's fine, that's fine. This boss just does take a while. So as we head down towards the maze, I actually run off to activate the Acon. Usually I wouldn't be playing Night Fae here, and the Warlock would kind of be doing that. But I actually just went for it anyway. And at the same time as I was doing that, I actually looked over my shoulder at where the Mistcaller was going, and I could see that she went left. I actually marked her with a moon icon, and I could kind of turn my camera so I could look at where she was going in the maze. So I already know that she's gone left and then she's gone right. Kind of cool thing that you can do to help your group out there. Saves people running around looking at the symbols for the first 2 maze doors, I guess you could call them. And yeah, then we have our hunter pull through the wall to the right. And that's really good because now we know we've got left maze and we've pulled the right pack, so our percentage is looking pretty nice. If you ever have to go right side of the maze, in general, your trash percent is going to be low. Kind of a cool little tip there. And you also have to face the dragon somewhere in the maze, which is kind of a really shit one, to be honest, because it heals and it just has loads of health, and you'll lose time from fighting the dragon, and you'll lose percent because the right side generally isn't the best way to go. So now we're going to be facing a lot of repeat mobs throughout this maze, the Stalker being one of them. Stalkers are very important that you use your CCs to interrupt the Misfail bite. They will cast a bite every 12 seconds or so, 12-14 seconds I believe it is. And you can interrupt that one with either an Imprison or a Fell Eruption or a Chaos Nova, or any other kind of stop that your team has, like blinds and things like that. So tell your team to interrupt these Stalkers, or you can just take on that task. If there's 1, you'll be able to do it pretty single-handedly as a DH. If there's 2, you might have to juggle a bit or ask for some help from, you know, a hunter could do it with their stun, or a rogue could help you out if you happen to have one. Leg sweeps, blinds, etc, etc, hodges. So that's probably the most important, especially on Fortified, of course. And then you've got these defenders which do the spear thing. You can just dodge that one, to be honest. The tank will probably move out of the way, so that's not too much of a big deal. And then you have the Guardians, which will do that spinny kick thing, which you're probably familiar with. That one can also be stopped with Imprisons, Fell Eruptions, Chaos Novas, all the same stuff. You can do it actually while it's winding up, and it will still go on cooldown. It used to be, you know, have to actually successfully cast the ability before it would go on cooldown, so you had to wait for it to kick once before you could do it. But now you can actually do it in the wind up, in case you didn't know. And you got these Tenders, which will do like an AoE hot, like kind of a trank, I guess, onto the group. You can interrupt that on, and if it does go off, you can Blood Elf it. So you can do like a Master Spell with your Blood Elf ability if you are playing Horde. You can see there that me and the Monk both used our Imprison and Paralysis on the Guardian to stop it kicking. So here, this Night Blossom guy is a good opportunity if you do have a Warlock or a Hunter or anything like that. Because of this is like the mini boss of the maze, I guess. You'll either get the Frog, Night Blossom, or the Dragon. And the Frog is like a bit more over on the left side, I think. The Night Blossom is pretty central, and the Dragon is kind of right side as you look at the maze and go in. Usually, because it's a solo mob and you're kind of just sitting there hitting this meat bag for a while. If you do have a Hunter or a Warlock or something that can throw like send a pet through the maze walls, then you can actually pull a pack back to this room. I know you can definitely do like 2 frogs together. And this Night Blossom, you could probably send a Hunter pet through like one of these left or middle walls here, so that it could pull a pack over, and then you're kind of AoEing a pack. This Night Blossom doesn't really do much aside from put these green swirlies on the ground now and then. So it's like a very, very good chance that you can make up some percentage. The more percentage that you get inside the maze, the less that you have to do later on the you know, the bug guys at the end, which have some annoying interrupts, and the reavers and stuff. You might need to, if you have to go past the boss room to pull after the boss as well, then that can get quite annoying, especially if you get a really bad maze on the right side. I've, you know, had to clear like 3 or 4 packs after the boss before, which is never good. And also, you know, if you're skipping at the start with Invis, sometimes you can skip all the way to the first boss without doing that woe pack that we did here. You'll be very much behind on percentage, so any extra percent you can make up in the maze is fine, because these mobs generally don't do too much if you control them. You know, like if you stop the kicks, if you stop the misfit bites going through and all that stuff, then generally they aren't too hard to deal with. So having, you know, 8 mobs as opposed to 5, or 8 mobs as opposed to 4, as long as you can get the important CCs and important kicks out, isn't really gonna, you know, stress you too hard. Obviously, it's a bit harder with the inspiring, especially there's one mob, I'm not sure which one it is actually. I think it might be the attender. Does like a mass root on people, and that can actually be really annoying because you can't quite, you know, unless you have a master spell or something, you can't really get people out of that, and that's very annoying as a melee. So the only other one that I don't think we've seen yet is the butterfly one. I think it's called the Stinger. That one will just charge at some random player, and your healer will have to dispel it. But you can actually use a stop on that one as well. If you see it doing the poison, where it charges out the pack, you can actually just chuck a Fel Eruption on it if you've got no higher prior target to throw your stuns and, you know, stops and things on. So on the boss then, pretty simple boss. You guys probably know it well by now. Dodge the dodgeballs, of course. And then you'll see me throughout this fight now actually throwing my Fel Eruption onto the fox, and that is to proc Karain. Every time that I damage the fox, before it hits me, which hopefully it never does, I'm actually going to get a proc onto first strike, which is 25% crit chance for 5 seconds. So if no one's CCing it, I will actually just throw my Fel Eruption on it as soon as it spawns. But if I see someone CC it instantly, like we did see the monk paralyzed go down, I'll wait like 5 or 6 seconds or so before I throw my Fel Eruption on it, which will kind of finish it. I guess it will put it in a stun for another 4 seconds, and then it'll despawn straight after that. So I'll still be proccing Karain without, you know, un-CCing it, and then it's just going to run around after 4 seconds. I'm kind of delaying me using my Fel Eruption on it. Or alternatively, sometimes I use my Fel Eruption and then I'll like re-CC it with an Imprison or something if I know that I'm going to take that one. I'll Fel Eruption into an Imprison, or if it's running close to the group, I'll Chaos Nova. Both of those abilities, Fel Eruption and Chaos Nova, they both do a little bit of damage, just enough to proc Karain. So you will be just getting passively these first strike procs throughout the fight, which is a really cool extra little layer of gameplay that you can add in, you know, looking for those first strike Karain procs. Now, aside from that, this boss is quite easy. Just make sure you dodge the dodgeball. Try and identify, you know, which clone is the right one. Works the same way as the maze, but if you're unsure, then obviously just let your team do it. And yeah, just keep on blasting the boss. There's not really too much to say, but I thought I would talk, you know, fairly extensively about the Karain procs. Just see if you can see me doing it. See if you can see me throwing my, you know, targeting the Vulpin and throwing out my Fel Eruptions. And sometimes if it's real close, you can just, you know, cleave it a little bit with a Blade Dance, or your Immolation Aura might hit it or something. But just if it is close to melee, watch out that it doesn't come too close, that it's going to start like looking to stun you guys. If that happens, then I'll just throw a Chaos Nova down, and the tank will hopefully be moving the boss away so that we can then get it into a proper CC. You know, the Chaos Nova or the Fel Eruption or whatever will just buy us some time so that we can actually get into a better position. So I actually do go down here because I think the tank didn't interrupt the patty cake. I got meleeed by the boss, and I can't see any other explanation for that happening, especially, you know, I didn't miss taunt or anything, and me and the hunter both died. So I think the tank, you know, messed up the interrupt, and then we just both got meleeed in the face. Kind of unfortunate, but not really our fault, so we can't really dwell on that too much. Tanks do better. So as we jump off the cliff now then, I obviously activate the seed once again, and then I make sure that I'm targeting the Staghorn as we run into this pack. That's going to be like my prior on the interrupt. But I think I actually might have changed to hunt the relic. I did hunt the relic here, Fel Rushed, Immolation Aura, and Fel Rush once again. I almost got back for the interrupt on the Staghorn after I finished doing my little combo, but I didn't quite make it, so I immediately plopped my Blood Elf Master Spell. Got the shield that the Staghorn put up on, you know, back off them again, and then I'm getting back because I still got my interrupt, and I managed to swipe that interrupt on the second shield there, which is awesome. And now we're kind of walking down, positioning for the next pull. I know I've got an Unbound Chaos here, so I'm kind of saving it, you know, hoping that it's still going to be up when these packs get pulled together. There is a lava on the left over there that's inspired, which is going to make this pack really hard if we're, you know, not being able to kick the Staghorn here. So this Acid Gullet as well is quite annoying to be in here. But we do just kind of like make it work. This is where I wish that I still had my Blood Elf to spell, because you can see that the Staghorn actually got his cast off there once again and put the shields on everything. But we actually just do so much damage that we just went straight through the shields there. And hopefully the acid belch is going to be dead in time to get the next interrupt on the stag one, which is going off right here. And I did manage to get that one. I think the pally actually also got it from me, but we popped our interrupts at the same time. Now I got my hunt ready, and I'm just blasting away, doing my fell rushes, hitting as many mobs as I can with those. If I can find a Karain proc, then I will. So I'm actually just going to get a Karain proc off this lava before I use up this Unbound Chaos proc here. Just kind of like thinking about every mob that you see that you haven't damaged yet is essentially like a DPS cookie or like a DPS steroid. You see it and you're like, all right, how can I, you know, stagger hitting these mobs to try and have maximum uptime on Karain's first strike? And if you can do that, you're going to notice that your damage with Night Fae is going to shoot straight up. And I'm actually keeping up quite well with these meta classes right here. If you've noticed the damage meter, I'm actually keeping up with the Warlock and the Survival Hunter, Destro Warlock and Survival Hunter as Night Fae, which is, you know, supposedly the subpar spec for Demon Hunter right now, you know, after Ventir. So I feel like I'm doing a pretty decent job here. My overall like actual damage is, you know, it's okay. It's not like insane for Mists, but it's also not too shabby up. You know, I'm kind of looking relative to the other guys' DPS. If this Warlock was crushing me with 25k and I'm on 17, then I wouldn't feel as good. But because I'm actually keeping up, either, you know, maybe they're not the best Warlock and Hunter, or I'm actually playing this key fairly decently so far. So I'm just going to give myself that nice little ego boost and go with the latter option there. So going for a double pull here, I have everything ready. I've got 2 charges on Fell Rush, I've got my hunt ready, and I've got my Immolation Aura. So I hunt the mob straight away. I use my Fell Rush, I Immolation Aura, I use my Fell Rush, and then I put my I-Beam and into a Death Sweep, and you can see I did like a crazy amount of damage, 50k DPS on AoE without, you know, meta or anything like that. That's a pretty nice burst, to be honest. Night Fae can really do that kind of stuff because you're using the hunts so early in the pack. You're going to be proccing that agility buff from going through, you know, you're going to be getting an Immolation Aura for more uptime on that. You're going to be getting an extra Unbound Chaos, and you are going to be getting like a 20% agility buff because if you hit 5 targets, you get 4% per target that you hit. So that's 20% agility, and then plus all the other damage that you're doing. And you'll see when I bring up my damage breakdown at the end of this dungeon just how much damage my Fell Rush, like Unbound Chaos Fell Rushes are actually doing throughout this key. Is absolutely insane, to be honest. And it's not like my boss damage was very bad as well. Like I didn't just go for some crazy pad spec, you know, where I'm just Fell Rushing through all these small mobs. If anything, I'm doing less, you know, pad damage than the Hunter and the Warlock would be doing. But a good thing about using Unbound Chaos, especially with Karain, is you kind of snapshot a lot of the damage early on in the pool, right? Because of this first strike buff, you can just get a big, nice, meaty Fell Rush crit at the start or 2, and then you're kind of good for the rest of the pool, which does feel a lot better. You know, considering when you play Ventir, the boss damage is crazy, but you do lack on that AoE. I feel like Night Fae has a bit more of a balanced damage profile. I don't absolutely suck at the bosses. If you look back at the boss damage during this key, if you've been looking at the damage meter or anything like that, then you'll notice that, you know, I'm not far behind on the bosses. I'm pretty sure I even maybe topped one or two of the bosses. So I'm going even, and I'm also like almost going even in the AoE here. Whereas as Ventir, you'll usually just get destroyed on the trash, and then you'll probably come out quite far ahead on the bosses if you play it well. So that's like just shows the different damage profile. Technically, Ventir is like the go-to and better spec. You won't really catch many people playing Night Fae, but it is a fun one. I think the playstyle of this one is much more fun. There's a lot more to think about. There's a lot more to do. So I definitely highly recommend it for any, you know, time that you just want to mess around, maybe late at night like I was doing here. This one's at like midnight for me. Just jumped into some random 22 to record a video for you guys. You know, I didn't need this key or anything. I just wanted to try out Night Fae and see how it did. So, you know, it was just a good fun key. The time flew by, and something that I'll probably be doing a little bit more, just playing some dungeons as Night Fae, because it's definitely, you know, going to give me a break from pushing as Ventir and then just like chilling on Night Fae. And, you know, a lot of people dislike the playstyle of Ventir. So making sure that I try and cleave these lavas on the last boss here with my Fell Rushes as much as I can. So, you know, when I've got an Unbound Chaos proc in the bank, I am kind of waiting or looking at the timer for the ads to spawn and waiting for them to come, waiting for them to stack up a little bit, and then using my Fell Rush. If I have the hunt, I'm going to do that as well, because not only is the hunt going to do like a big cleave on them, give me an amount of chaos that I can use on them, but it's also going to proc more agility. If I use the hunt on one target, I'm going to get 4% agility. If I use the hunt on the boss plus the 4 adds, I'm going to get 20% agility. So it is kind of worth holding in those scenarios. You know, Night Fae is kind of just about thinking ahead and thinking like, how can I get the most out of each of these like big button presses? You know, your actual button press by button press isn't too impactful. You know, you're just, as long as you're death sweeping on cooldown, you should be doing pretty well and getting 2 death sweeps into every I-beam window. But it's more about, you know, you have these sort of like mini cooldowns, right? Like I-beam is a mini cooldown because of the death sweeps, and you know, the hunt is a mini cooldown, which is also really fun to press. So I just think that it works out quite nice. It's just my preferred covenant for fun. But yeah, it's just sadly not the best right now. So as you've been watching the boss, you hopefully have been seeing me kind of like using my dashes to avoid those green swirlies. I even chucked a nether walk down at some point there to just so I could play a bit greedy, so I could just not worry about moving for one of them, and then just running through to reposition with the tank. You always want to be stacking up with the tank here, so that when he's, you know, moving the boss over, people can just move to the fixator guy can move to the tank, and then all the adds will stack up nicely. And that's the key. We were so far ahead on trash there that we didn't need to clear anything after the boss. We just ran straight down to the boss, and that was pretty much it. That was a fun one, to be honest. I really enjoyed that one. I did fall slightly behind on the damage meter at the end, just because of all those lavas and stuff. I just didn't have the quite enough snap AoE to keep up there. But as you can see on the damage breakdown there, my immolation aura is topping, which is to be expected as Night Fae, and Death Sweep is doing absolute work there. Awesome button to press, feels really cool, feels really fun. And then you got, you know, considering that's capped at 5 targets, that's doing a hella damage, right? Because it's my top on single target. And then Fell Rush doing loads, considering that that button is free to press. You know, Glaive Tempest would be doing something similar if I ran that in this instead of Unbound, except Glaive Tempest would cost me 30 Fury per cast, right? So considering Fell Rush is completely free, look how much damage that is doing. It is absolutely incredible. So highly recommend trying out some Khura'in. Highly recommend trying out some Night Fae. See what you make of it. You know, try in some lower keys and then work your way up. See how high you can do a key with it. You know, tell me what's your max key that you've played as Night Fae in the comments, or go out and do that and then come back and comment again and tell me, or catch me live and tell me that. Anyway, guys, my stream will be linked in the description down below. Thank you to the Patreons who are helping me to do what I'm doing. If you'd like to learn more about my Patreon, then that will be on the screen hopefully now, and also in the description down below. As I said before, let me know in the comments what you want to see next, or, you know, if you've got any questions, head over to the stream, join my Discord, all that good stuff to be notified when I go live. I will leave a link to the full Khura'in Night Fae guide in the description down below as well, and it will be on the screen for you hopefully now if I've done it correctly. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for listening to me ramble on through this Mists and for this like half an hour or so, and have a great evening, and I will see you in the next one. As always, peace.